just want to first, before I start, to just acknowledge the Algonquin traditional territory that I am speaking on today. I come from Nakasley, which is in north central British Columbia. So from Vancouver, if you were to drive to my community, it's about a 12-hour drive. Luckily for airplanes from Vancouver, it's an hour flight to Prince George, which is the closest city, and then another 2-hour drive west and then north to get to the town of Fort St. James. And that's where we traveled in from yesterday. So a long day for us. In our area, we have we belong or are born into clans, and each clan has a responsibility for different parts of our culture and our area. And for my clan, I follow my mother's side, which is the Frog clan, and so we are protectors of water is what we are born into. And then I also, I think, have taken on some of my dad's clan, which is the Beaver clan, and they are the warriors in our area. Tamashu is what, how you say it in our language. And so I come to you and tell you a story about how I am fighting as a warrior to protect the water in our area. So in Nakasley we have what is called KO in our language. It's the area we go to for survival, where the families have certain areas within the Nakasley territory that they hunt, that they fish, that they collect berries and gather medicinal plants in. And where I was raised and where my father and my grandfather and my great-grandfather were is an area called the Nation River area. And this area is part of the Arctic watershed. So when you get to Fort St. James, you drive about 40 minutes north and you hit the Continental Divide, where the water starts running to the north. And in our language, I mean, knowing where you're from and where the waters are going was very important, because you needed to know where your territory ended. And so in the north, the rivers and the creeks usually had the ending ka at the end. So Mesalinka, Azalinka, Almanika are rivers in the northern area, but ko were rivers that ran to the Pacific. So we're part of the Fraser River area. Just to give you geography of setting of where we are. I always took for granted that where we were was so far north, and I thought nobody would really be interested in there, and really didn't really think about mining or how logging was going to impact us. We always just went back to our cabins in our traditional territory. And then in the late 80s and early 90s, a mining company came in. I just graduated from high school in 91. In 93, I started hearing about the possible mine, and actually by that time a mine had been approved, and it was called the Mount Milligan Project. At that time it was owned by Placer Dome, and because of the gold prices dropping drastically, it's such a low grade of copper and gold that the project was shelved. At the time I didn't realize how lucky we were that it did not go ahead. But we just left it at that through the 90s. We left it at, okay, they were going to plan a mine, but they didn't, and nobody really talked about it or prepared or planned or talked with the communities or to the government about this until 2006, when all of a sudden we get a call from an exploration company called Terrain Metals, and they say, we just wanted to let you know we have an exploration permit to drill in your area. We thought it would be nice of us to stop by and talk to you and see what you think about this. And so in 2006, I was just finishing up a project on the Enbridge Gateway pipeline that is proposed from Alberta to Kitimat in British Colombia. And actually it was on mat leave. I just had my youngest daughter. And so I was at home and able to attend this meeting in June 2006. And my family said, well, we don't really know what this company is about. We don't know what they want to do, and we really liked what you did on Enbridge, because what we did there was we set up a process. We said, you know, there's a cost of doing business in our territory, and we should have the right to look at how your proposed project would impact us on 5 main components. So environmentally, how would a mine impact us socially? How would a mine impact us culturally, economic, and legally? And that to allow you into our territory, you should provide money to our community so that we could hire consultants and bring in people that could help us really understand this project. And that's where, you know, the free, prior, and informed consent, it shouldn't be a cost to the community to figure out how a project is going to impact them. And so that's, in 2006, we started this process. I think back to it, and at the time I was on mat leave, and my family just said, well, you're not doing anything, Anne. You know, you're not working, so here's the project description. There's a gold copper mine being proposed in our area. Read this information that you got and tell us what you think about it. And so after bringing on, finding some people out there just by chance, nobody had in our area done this. And what happens with a lot of communities is that they feel like they're very alone in this whole process of when there's a company coming in. And for me, I was one person up against a mining company, a junior mining company, that had access to engineers and to geologists and to a whole, AMAC was their company that they hired that did all their environmental reviews and everything. And there was just me advising chief and council and our family on what steps we should do, and how we should proceed with this. And we really felt that the important part was that we be given the chance to review their information that they were providing to us, that not the company come in with their consultants and which they had proposed to us. We'll hire AMAC, or we'll hire an environmental consultant. They'll come in, they'll gather your traditional knowledge, and then they will take that information and tell us how we're going to impact you. And we said, that's not the way it's going to happen here. We said, you provide the funds to us. We will hire our own consultants, and we will hire our own people to be able to put a document together that would say, this is how we are going to be impacted. And we will keep that information, and we only share what you need for your environmental assessment process or what you need to give to the government. We will provide that. We will provide that for you. That was a shock to the company, I think. They were used to going into communities and saying, this is the information we need, here are the people that are going to gather it, and thank you very much for your information, and walking away. And so that, I think, threw them off. They weren't sure what to do with Nakaslí, and all of a sudden we are hearing questions that we were being asking too many questions, that we should just, from the local community, especially because the logging industry had just disappeared because of the mountain pine beetle that had wiped out and killed all the logs, the pine trees in our area. So logging was really on a decline, and people were desperate in our small community to find jobs. And the mining company jumped on that and said, well, we could come in, we'll provide you all the jobs you need, and you just let us come in. And so then we were seen as the bad people for asking the questions about the environment. We were asking them, is there going to be clean water? Are we going to be able to access the lands that we have for generations? Are we going to, are we going to be able to hunt in the area? And the one thing that really I try to share when I talk about our experiences is that the land is where we get our identity from. Land makes me a Daca woman that is part of the Frog clan. And what I worry about is my 6-year-old daughter is if she's to get her identity from the land, and now the land that she used to go to is a open pit mine with I think they're planning 3 pits and tailings ponds and waste piles. And that's what she has to go to. What kind of identity will she have? And that's something that any environmental assessment that you look at that the government does not ask the question of how development will impact the culture, how it will impact the Indigenous people that rely on the land for more than just providing food to us, but for providing who we are and connecting us to the land.